The next show we're going to be talking about is Made in Abyss.
Yes, this is one you.
Yes, this is probably one of the shows that's like highly acclaimed this season. The animation is still gorgeous. I know some people who are like reviewers and like they rate animation and stuff like that say that it dropped off after episode 3, but for me, someone who's not as critical as others, I'd say that it remains beautiful like the whole time through. I can see that as far as like not having those establishing shots and the atmosphere that they had at the beginning, because they're establishing the world, and you're trying, like, it goes from like a open world and a few levels down in this vast open area all the way down to you're heading towards the bottom of this this chasm. So there still are a lot of amazing things because the hole is not like the hole is gigantic. So there's still a large landscape that you have to go over. But I like how they kind of focus more on the character situation that's going on rather than, oh, they're having trouble in this amazing land. So, yeah, I absolutely love this show. This is my #1 show of the season. Some parts hurt to watch. Like I had to like
emotionally or hurt to see.
Both. Okay. Okay, so basically the premise for this show, I know we've talked about it before, but basically short version is if you imagine a volcano and you take all of the lava out, and then inside of that volcano you put all these strange creatures, all these this strange atmosphere, different environments types, and the monsters and the environments get more and more extreme the lower you get into the abyss. At the top you have this village where you have this gigantic like civilization. Really, it's like way bigger than what I would imagine a village. And you have people that are just like cave raiders, and they just like rappel down the to the edges of the abyss and start finding all these relics and everything. And they have this kind of economy where certain things are more valuable than others. And I would assume it's more like the rarity, because like everybody hangs out at like the top few levels, so you're always finding the same things over and over. But like the people who can get down farther, where there's more dangerous things, there's not as many of those items like in their system. So of course there's people who always like I want to get to the bottom. The only problem with that is that the abyss has this weird curse to it. You kind of lose your mind the farther and farther down you get, and at certain points you lose your humanity. Like you turn into like a and that's like the like a very very like extreme depths of the abyss. So
do they explain why that happens?
A lot of things they blame it on the curse. So then the farther you get along in the story, you want to find out like where the curse come from, why is there a curse, and
no kidding.
Don't get that explanation in this part of the show. Like they left it wide open. It's everything that happens. You're not really worried about why is the curse doing you this. You're like, oh my god, please survive. And you're like, okay, you survived this. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper and make sure nobody else dies and stuff like that. So yeah, you follow the two characters from the picture, this little girl and this little robot boy. It's a really really cool relationship. There is one issue that I have with this show. One issue alone. I don't know what it is about, like, there's some weird, like naked kids and, like, talking about putting stuff up people's butts and, like, probing. There's, like, this weird, like, every now and then they'll turn and, like, one of them's, like, naked and it's like, well, yeah, there's, like, an explosion and, like... Butts? Well, okay, so when they found the... Okay, so I'll go explain. So when they found the robot boy... he was passed out and like he wouldn't like turn on. Well, the girl, she's an explorer and she's like found this robot that like she doesn't know what to do, so she's just like examining it and like sticking stuff up his butt to see what happens, and like how do you turn on? It's like she's like, I dragged him here, so he's my little relic thing. So I was like, I'm gonna just basically try to take him apart and stuff like that. And I don't know what it is, but it's like every now and then they're like a character will be like, they wouldn't wake up, so I tried to stick something up their butt and and it didn't work. And I'm like, why? Why do y'all keep doing this? No, that's not the first thing I would think of. Like, come on.
I'm sorry. That is the kid in me right now, just being like, every time you're like, well, they're gonna stick it up their butt, and they're gonna stick it up his butt. I'm like, oh my god.
And like the
It doesn't
funniest,
work. Stick it up his butt.
the funniest thing is the when she did that, the first time they went over this whole thing, she was like, "Yeah, I tried to stick something like up his butt to see like whatever, and it broke off." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" So like it's still up his butt, and like the robot's like freaking out. He's like, "What? I got something stuck inside of me." And then like they explain that like later they got it out. But I'm like, were you not? Did you try to get it out, or you'd be like, "Oh, that didn't work. Move on to the next method of trying to wake him up." So like, there's like these weird things. Like as far as that goes, and then there's also these weird things about like I know the manga is like way more extreme. Like they've toned a lot of the stuff down that I hear that's in this show as far as like child nudity and stuff like that. And I'm glad that they did that because why would I want to see all that? So there's one part where she got in trouble with one of her teachers, and her teacher like wrapped her up in this rope and like hung her from the ceiling like naked, and like it was like a 1 second clip of her like and the teacher's like and then it like moved on, and like that's a punishment that you get for like misbehaving in school. And I'm like, that's so weird. And like later on there's another character who like does something similar, and I'm like, what's going on with like this weird like butthole kid nudity undertones? I'm like, it's weird. So if you take that weird like little sprinkling that they put in the show out, I'm like, this show is like 100% awesome. Like all the creatures that they find are like super unique. They have like there's this one creature that looks like it's like this big white bird, and like has kind of like these weird like monster features on it, like super long eyes. It kind of reminds me of like some of the monsters from Inuyasha, where like they have like a really long face, or their eyes are like really slanted and really long and stuff like that, or they'll have like little bumps just like surrounding their eyes, and it's just like all the monsters and everything are like super unique and super cool. And that one creeped me out the most because they had just like got away from something, and then they heard somebody like, "Oh, help me!" And I'm like, "No, don't go over there." And she's like, "Oh, someone needs help," and starts running over, and it's like, "Oh, someone help!" And I can't remember if like somebody knew what it was and tried to warn them before they got there, but then you found out that that creature's a mimic, so it was it was repeating the sound of the person that it was killing, and it used that. It's like it's eating the dude and making that sound to kind of lure out other people so it could eat them next. And I'm like, I was freaked out. I was like, oh my god. So there are other monsters that like are way more dangerous, and there's like super crazy like environments and like healing pools, and then like monsters that'll just like there was one monster that can predict the future, and it's like
accurately, or
and I don't want to. Oh god, it was so good like how they handled that. So I am like very impressed with like the entire concept of this show. There's so much I want to talk about, but you have to see it because there's so many different concepts in the show that I haven't seen in anything else. And as far as the entire show goes, they left it at a good stopping point. It's basically school time and like establishing the world, and then escaping off on your own and following your mission to try to get to the bottom. And then it's like obstacle after obstacle after obstacle after obstacle after like huge devastating setbacks, and then the people who like just more obstacles and more obstacles, and then you kind of regroup and you're like, okay, let's try this again, and then the show kind of ends. So there ends up being more character reveals, so you're like, oh, in season 2 this person who they didn't really explain that much, you're gonna get more in-depth explanation for them. And then there's still the secret of why the abyss is the way it is, So you're like,
Yeah.
oh, hopefully in season 2 they explain that. And then like there are people who are missing who never actually was there currently. They showed up in a flashback, but you don't know if they're actually dead or if they might still be alive. And if they are alive, they might be at the actual destination, or maybe not. There's like so many mysteries going on in this show that I am 100% ready to watch the next season. Like I hope next week episode 14 comes out, because I really really want more. So it really, 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 really sucks that Amazon has this, because
Yes.
it is an expensive paywall to watch this show that needs way, way more exposure. So I can't even like promote it, because it's like, you want to pay $15 a month for this service? Like most people are like, no. So Made in Abyss, I want to say, is like the absolute #1 show of the season, but it is shackled by Amazon. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh yeah.
that's the worst thing about it, is that it's on Amazon. But other than that, it is like my absolute favorite show.
Yeah, if I could, I'd have watched it, but unfortunately, I just can't do it with the fact that, Amazon has it behind their having to be the Amazon service and having to get Amazon strike for their anime service. It's like, come on, really? Double paywall, and you have to just it's ridiculous. So, yeah, and then the one he ends up building for himself, he actually gave it the ability to fly. So I mean, it's like all these things, like he keeps innovating, keeps adding new things, keeps adding, but they're all safe. None of them will hurt her or anything. So they're all, if she can go in there and actually feel safe for once. And it was